Sooner Scoop HD.
I want to ask you about Reggie Grimes. We saw the numbers and the production, the big plays on Saturday. When you look at his game overall, what did you see on film, and how do you feel like he stands here after 1 week?
I thought he played really well. Obviously, you mentioned the production, and certainly that's something you shoot for every week as a player. You want to produce, and he did that, and that was a result of his preparation. He's been a grinder throughout camp, and played well, and expect him to play better this week.
Did you know at all about the situation that he was going through?
We knew that. And what a special day for he and his family, and that's so cool, because you never know how many special days you get, but that was certainly one of them, and I'm happy for both he and his family, for sure. Yeah.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, just the production at cornerback in this first game, was it what you expected out of those players over there? And just top overall depth at position, the backups play like you want them to play?
Yeah, well, certainly we did some really good things that we're really pleased with. But again, there's so much that we can improve on at every position, and that's the focus moving forward. But yeah, I thought they did a good job, and I thought for the most part they tackled well and did what we asked them to do. They were on top of routes a lot and didn't get run by, and that was a big mantra for us going into that game was, hey, making sure we stay on top of things and not letting the ball get behind us and the explosive plays. And like I said, I think there were 2 of them that were over 20 yards, and the longest run was an 8-yard run. So that was a goal, for that particular week of how we felt what we needed to do to win that game, and they accomplished it. So yeah, I was pleased with them. Yeah.
You alluded to the rush defense just then. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that, especially in the first half. They finished with negative 19 rushing yards. Just what did you see from the front 7 in terms of defending the run, and is that a kind of performance you feel like you could build on with that unit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's something you build on, and again, as coaches, like we put that to bed yesterday about 1 p.m. and then it was, on to the next thing. So we're down the road, but certainly proud of that. And that's something that if you can play good run defense, you're going to win a lot of football games, because then what you force the other team to do is become one-dimensional. And, that was something we were real pleased with. And, the 9 tackles for losses and the 6 sacks also had something to do with that as well. So, but overall, yeah, really, really pleased with that particular stat, and, something to build on. You're exactly right.
Slid Deshaun out kind of later in camp.
What'd you say?
Deshaun White, sliding him
Deshaun.
outside. What'd you kind of see from him in his first game out there, that new spot?
I thought he played well. He's a guy that's playing his best football, at least since I've been here at this particular point in time. Very comfortable in his role out there, very instinctive, and he's playing his best ball since I've been here. And look for him to continue to improve and get better. But I'm proud of him. And also, as a leader, I'm proud of his leadership. He's become more vocal and taken on more of a leadership role, and that's important as well.
Stay over there with Justin.
Ted, I want to ask you about Kent State. They had one of the fastest offenses in the nation last season, figured to be just as fast this year. I mean, just how advantageous is it that you guys have been going up against a really up-tempo offense in practice every day?
Well, you're right. They go really, really fast, but so do our guys. So, and for teams that don't do that, that's almost impossible to simulate, because if your guys don't do it, the scout teams can't do that if that's not what they do on a daily basis. So, yeah, I think it's certainly good that we've been working against us and understand the stress and the sense of urgency with getting a call, getting lined up, getting your eyes in the right spot, all those types of things, the communication pieces. So, but they go really fast, and you look at explosive plays, and they've got a lot of them and a lot of production back. Sure.
With Billy in that role, I've been talking about since the spring he'd be there at safety, but what struck you about his performance in his first go at it?
I thought he was physical. I thought he was very comfortable. He played with a lot of confidence. You could just sense it in his body language. His eyes were on point, and he tackled well. And played well, and looking forward to seeing him go like this, as we all with all our guys.
The interior guys up front, particularly Jeffrey in his debut, how did they operate and kind of rotate around with you guys?
Yeah, we rolled a lot of guys because I think it was pretty warm, so we rolled a lot of guys, and that's something that is a luxury, to be able to roll guys up front, because there's such a war going on that some people realize, some people don't, and the amount of strain that it takes to play well inside and fight like that on a play-by-play basis. So it's nice to be in that position.
Hey, Ted, talking about up-tempo offenses, whether it's going against yours in practices or facing another team's up-tempo offense, I assume they've got to have a pretty good quarterback, but as a defensive coordinator, what are things that you see out of another team and you think, oh yeah, they're going to go fast? Like keys to really playing fast that you sense out of teams you might be getting ready to go against?
When you're watching tape, certainly, you watch TV copies, you watch things like that, but when you see the official turn and sprinting off the ball to get out of the way, that's the number one clue that they're going pretty fast. So you see that quite a bit on their tape, and you see like other teams are playing at times, still looking to the sideline when the ball's being snapped. All those things are saying, hey, these guys are going really fast, and they did when the head coach was at Syracuse. They went fast, and some are things there. So I mean, you understand that, but also you don't take anything for granted as well.
Do you feel like, aside from the quarterback, I mean, you talk about the referee sprinting off the ball, does it come down to the linemen and how fast they can get up there and get moving, and whether a team can really get going fast?
It comes down to all of it, because like we don't all 11 guys got to play on defense, because if one guy doesn't, that could be a touchdown. Where it's not that way in every phase of the game, but on defense, all 11 got to be humming and got to be taking care of business. Got to get a line, got to get the call, got to process it, formation recognition, initial key, things like that. So, and any adjustment that occurs within the call. So, yeah, there's a lot to process, but again, our guys go fast too. So that I'm glad that we've gone against that.
We were talking to Jeff about complementary football and giving, offense and defense kind of giving each other what they need in practice and in games. For you, you've done this a few times. Like when you were at Auburn with Gus, how much was that discussed with you and Gus and Gene, and about going fast in practice or giving the defense maybe a different look in practice?
We discussed it, but at the same time, that was our identity on offense, and so we were when we won the national championship played Oregon. At the end of each practice for those periods, there would be an offensive play run about 8 seconds, because as soon as the ball was down, a manager would put the ball down and run off the field, and the next play was being run. So that's how we do it here, and that's our formula for winning football games, and we're all in on that. So, but it certainly but then you look at the end of the game the other day. Okay, our guys slowed it down, and Coach Venables managed the game, and so there's things that change. There's nothing that's a 100 absolute. That so each game, the game situation and game management, it changes.
Is that something as a defensive coach, as the years have gone by, you just had to adjust to that? Offensive teams are going to establish an offensive identity that is, we're going fast, and you've got to deal with it.
Yeah, that's college football now. I mean, that's again, we play defense when they say it's our turn to play defense, regardless of ball position, circumstance. I mean, none of that stuff matters. Our job is to go out and get stops, and that's how we approach it.
Yeah, Ted, because of the conditions, number of plays, did you learn anything about the depth that you have just across the board, about guys that maybe you can trust even more than what you first thought?
I tell you what I learned too is that we had some competitive stamina. It was high 40s, mid 40s snaps, I think, in the first half. So there was some competitive stamina that was developed, and you train. Those guys work extremely hard, but you get in shape to play football, like to really play by playing. because leaning on one another, striking each other, getting off block, all the things that go into it. So I saw some competitive stamina, and that's a good thing, because that's what it's going to take. And also our depth. We played 30 in the low 30s on defense with players, so that was good to play a lot of players. We almost went 3 deep. So that was good for everybody to get a little taste of it and understand, that if you work hard in practice, you're going to get rewarded if the situation, dictates that.
Teddy, could you talk about your play of your linebackers? Because there's a little bit of a different line situation with White at the cheetah and Danny at the will. Yeah. Also, Harrington got his first action, and so did Kanik. Yeah. How did that look? And could you talk about Kent State too, from the personnel that they have, or what do you see out of their personnel offensively?
Let me go back to the first part of your question. I was pleased, and anytime guys can get out and play, like we're in that position for to get reps, and to it's one thing to do it on the practice field, another thing to do it on the game field when the stadium's full. So that was good that we were able to do that, get some meaningful reps, which builds depth, which builds experience, which we all know we're going to need as the season unfolds. And what was the second part of your question?
Kent State's personnel. You talked about how fast they are. But
yeah, I think they've got a solid, experienced offensive line with 3 starters back. They play in multiple personnel groupings. They try to keep you off balance with that. And the skill players, they've got guys that are going to be playing in NFL at receiver. Their running backs are explosive backs that really, run hard and run through. They break a lot of tackles. And the quarterback is extremely mobile, and he's got good sign, and he can throw his launch points from different angles. He's very athletic, and that poses another set of problems as well. So we have a lot of respect for them. We know they're well coached. We know their scheme's good. Their players are good, and we're going to have to play well to win.
Yeah, Ted, on the offensive tempo issue, I asked Jeff about it, about slowing down, and I've heard a lot of offensive coordinators who became head coaches who said, I really didn't think about it before. That wasn't my job to think about the defense problem. But you hear Jeff tell it, and he's like, I recognized that we had to do something different. And they come out with a 4-minute drive, and then they finish the game with a 5.5-minute drive. You proud of him as a young coach to recognize, that the defense needs his help in some ways?
Hey, I'm proud of all guys that are all about team, and Jeff Levy's all about team. And I've been so impressed, and I have so much respect for him, and admire how he has a team first attitude as a coach, and because they're going to score points and get plenty of yards, and understanding that it's all about winning, and for what's best for our team, and that's how we all are. We're all in that alignment under Coach Venables, because that's the mantra that he's dictated, and we're all on board with that. There's not a lot of egos, and it's just let's coach these guys, and let's coach them up, and coach them hard, and love them, and let's figure out what the best way for our football team is to win, and that's what we've come up with, and that's what we're going to do.
You have an open line to him through the game?
Yeah, I sit right next to him. Hey, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay, a couple more. Tari? One of the things that Billy Bowman mentioned after the game was that he wanted to see the secondary improve when the quarterback got out of the pocket and scrambles and things like that. You mentioned the mobility of Kent State's quarterback.
Yeah.
Just where do you want to see the defense improve in general?
That's certainly an area. When quarterbacks get flushed, because then, that's where you've got to be really, really disciplined in coverage to plaster receivers in your zone and match things, because receivers are going to move. They're not going to be stationary and just sit there and eat up grass. Some are going to go deep, some are going to come back to the ball. The opposite side where you're scrambling, those receivers are coming back across the field. So to be able to match those things as that's happening, and that's you look at a lot of explosive plays on every level. It's when the quarterback gets out of the pocket and he's on the run, because they're taught whoever comes out of coverage, that's where you throw the ball, because they've just vacated a receiver or vacated a zone. So that's a discipline in those situations. That's a critical factor.
Coach in the back.
Yes, sir.
How did you feel about the way R. Mason Thomas played? And you mentioned meaningful reps a little bit earlier. Now that you got some meaningful reps from him on camera or on tape. What can you learn more about him?
I'm very, very, very pleased with R. Mason. He just turned 18 years old. Like when the season started, he reported here as a 17-year-old freshman, and his maturity and his he's got like an old soul, you know, and he's put a lot of work in. He's approached it in a very mature manner, and I think you saw the results of that. He's going to be a very good football player if he continues to approach the game like he does right now, because he's got a wonderful attitude, a wonderful perspective, a great work ethic, and really, really pleased with him.
Sooner Scoop HD.